Hi everybody, welcome to another video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at this BMW M135i. Now this is quite a controversial car because the previous one was a completely different format to this, and a lot of people are not so keen on a few of the changes that they've made. But have they changed this car to make it a better driver's car or a better car to live with? Today we're going to find out. So I'm Justin, welcome back to Just Drive, and this is the BMW M135i. Just got to say a massive thank you to Prestige Performance Yorkshire for letting me come down and take this car out for review. All their cars are hand-picked and collected personally to ensure they meet their extremely high standards. It's run by car enthusiasts, so there's no pressure selling and no gimmicks, just guys who are passionate about cars and high preparation standards. They can also source individual cars for you, so get in touch if you need anything. Thank you, Prestige Performance Yorkshire. Okay, so one of the first major changes is the power plant, the engine. They've changed it from the old inline 6 3-litre turbo engine to a new inline 4 2-litre turbo engine. Now this one, it does make 306 horsepower, which is plenty, but the old one used to make 340, which is, it's just more. And the other big change is it's no longer rear-wheel drive, it is 4-wheel drive through BMW's xDrive system. And it is capable of sending up to 50% of the power to the back, but most of the time it is predominantly front-wheel drive, this car. And a lot of people prefer the rear-wheel drive waywardness of the old 1 Series, but is this going to be a much more sensible car? We're going to find out. Okay, so this particular car has actually got the M Performance body kit fitted from BMW from the factory, which include things like this rear spoiler, the beautiful side skirts along the side, and different front and rear bumpers. The rear bumper on this one is actually a forged carbon rear bumper, and I think it looks quite good, but you got to make your own mind about that one. It's also sitting on some lovely 19-inch alloy wheels, and behind those we've got actually quite large brakes, especially on the front end. Okay, so joining me now back here at the rear end, we've got the nice forged carbon bumper, and the exhaust is actually a valve system, and I think it actually sounds really good. It's not the buttery smooth 6-cylinder note we've come used to, but as a whole it sounds great, so there's not really many complaints in the exhaust department, apart from it could be a little bit louder, but you can solve that with a little bit of an aftermarket system. So okay, so coming back to the engine, the 2-litre inline 4 petrol turbo that's in this car is actually the most powerful 2-litre petrol engine that BMW currently produce. Granted, it doesn't make as much power as like the Mercedes AMG 45, but it actually produces a lot of torque, and torque is generally the force you associate with how it feels when it's pulling you down the road, so the fact it's got a nice high torque number should be very good and promising. So what about the drivetrain? Well, the gearbox is an 8-speed automatic gearbox, and it's actually really good. Compared to the likes of the Audi ones and the Mercedes ones, it can sometimes feel a little bit more sluggish, especially in comfort mode, but when you put it in sports mode, it's very snappy and it's really on it. Now, BMW has also fitted more bracing to the front and the rear of this chassis to stiffen it up a bit more, and all of that combined should make this car much more handling focused on the road than the other one, which had a tendency to be quite snappy on the limit and a little bit scary sometimes for people to drive. Okay, so what about the way that this thing looks? Well, when they first came out, I wasn't too keen on the looks of this car actually, but it's grown on me as I've seen more and more of them about on the road. Now, still as a standard car, I still think they look a little bit, they just sort of blend in, you know, but this one with the M Performance body kit on it really does stand out, and it looks way better than the standard car in my opinion. So if you're going to have one of these cars, you've got to have it with this M Performance body kit on it, because it just finishes off the look perfectly. So now if we move on to the interior of this car, it's actually a really nice place to be. The flappy paddles that you have here feel really nice and really high quality. The dash itself is actually it's fairly simplistic, but all the buttons you need are right there, and everything else can be done through the touchscreen, so it's actually really good. You have a full digital display in front of you, but one of the things that is quite odd is the fact that the rev counter goes backwards to the way you'd normally expect it, and I'm not really sure why BMW do this, but yeah, that is the way it is, so that's a bit odd. Now the steering wheel is actually a really chunky little wheel. There's plenty of adjustment on it so you can get it in the right place, and it's nice and central, which gives you a good driving position, and it just feels good. And the seats, these seats are absolutely wonderful. They're Alcantara, which means they stick a little bit better than the leather seat does, and the shape is just really nice. It holds you in really well whilst being super comfortable at the same time. I really cannot fault these seats. These are fantastic, and there's also plenty of adjustment on these seats. You can get them in the right place as well. So whether you're just heading up to the town or you're going down a little back road, the fact is these seats are well equipped to hold you in and provide you with adequate comfort. So 10 out of 10 on these seats. Yeah, great. And the driving position as a whole is actually really good. It's really nice and comfortable. The pedals are in a nice position. not too far apart, and there's plenty of adjustment everywhere, so you can just be nice and comfortable. The gearbox is also really easy to use. It's got a very nice gear lever which feels very high quality, and quality is something that is literally dripping from the inside of this cabin. It is a really nice place to be. Okay, so I think now we've pretty much touched on all the little things I want to talk about before we take this car out. So we're going to hop inside, go for a little drive and see what it's like on the road. So let's hop in. Okay, so now you join me behind the wheel of this BMW M135i. Now, first impressions, it feels really nice, really planted and stable. The steering feels a really nice weight, and there's very good feedback coming from that steering wheel as well. And the car has actually been fitted with a different steering rack to a normal 1 Series BMW. So it's actually got a quicker rack, which means the nose is much more pointy when you go into a corner, and you can really feel that coming back through the wheel, where the old M135i was a little bit more lazy on turning. This is definitely a massive improvement over that one in that front. Even though we're going down some fairly bumpy roads, it feels really nice actually. Granted, it's a little bit on the stiff side, but it is soaking up most of the big bumps really well. So the gearbox is an 8-speed automatic, and it's actually really responsive. It's a little bit slower than the sort of Audi and Mercedes ones in normal comfort mode when it comes to kicking down and things when you're trying to overtake. But when it put it in this sportier setting, it's really snappy and really good. Right, so the engine, it's only a 2-litre turbo, but it's really strong actually. And the fact that it's got so much torque means that the feeling you get when you're going down the road is actually a very powerful car. It goes from 0 to 60 in about 4.8 seconds, which is very good actually. And the performance aspect of the engine comes across really well from a driving point of view. Now, it's quite a quiet engine, but it does sound very nice actually. It's got a valved exhaust system, so when you put it in sport mode, you do get a few pops and bangs and a little bit of excitement. But if you want to get much more exhaust sound, you're going to have to change this for an aftermarket system. And when you do that, it's going to sound way more fruity, so that's something to consider. So this car, all these things coming together, comparing it to the old one, it's still a very capable car. In fact, probably more capable in the handling department than the old car, because the old one was quite twitchy and was well known for being quite aggressive on the back end. It would step out very easily, where this is much more planted. It turns in beautifully, and the overall package and the chassis bracing and all that sort of stuff has really come together, and you get a car that really just handles beautifully. It's also going to be more easy to live with on a day-to-day basis. The fact it's got a smaller engine means it's going to be more economical, cheaper to insure, and all those sorts of things really do add up when the fact is you're going to be using this car on a day-to-day basis, and as a day-to-day car, it's actually very good. So going back to talk a little bit about these seats, they hold you in really well and they're super comfortable. When you're throwing this around some corners, you really are stuck in place, but it's not aggressive, it's not too much, they're just a really good seat. So to round it all off a little bit, basically this car is much more grown up than its predecessor, and it's very capable. It's probably a more capable car, like I've said before, but it's still going to sit a little bit sour amongst some of the people in the car community because it's got a smaller engine and it's not a pure rear-wheel drive car. And I do miss that fact that BMW are no longer making a pure rear-wheel drive hatchback, because there's definitely a space for it in the market. But this car has definitely earned its space in the market, and it's a very good car in its own right. So just got to say once again a massive thank you to Prestige Performance in Yorkshire for letting me come down and take this car out for review. They've got some great stuff in stock, especially this car. This is in stock. I'm going to leave a link to that in the description down below, so check that out. I'm going to leave a link to their website as well, so have a look at their other stuff. Right, so if you've liked the video, leave a like down below. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel, and apart from that, enjoy the rest of your day.